So welcome to everybody, and let's get started. Normal rules apply. Not many rules really. Ask your questions in the chat panel, and then Mark will ask them out aloud so everyone hears them at the appropriate time of the show. Okay, where do we start? First, I want to start by saying thank you to the enormous, overwhelming messages of thanks for the last webinar, the TS Portal one. The people who have written to me saying their customer service staff have been doing cartwheels of joy down the corridor with the stuff that got put in there to help with customer service. I've been promised flowers, chocolates, tiramisu, single malt Scotch whiskey, none of which has arrived yet. I assume the delays are just due to COVID restrictions, but I look forward to receiving those as well. So I do want to spend the first couple of minutes just going through one new thing that has been added since, which you don't know about, but which is available if you want to jump onto the website and get the very latest TS Portal. You'll remember in the customer service stuff, to begin with, it wasn't handling or wasn't supporting pre-orders. It does that now, you know that, and it does that with or without images, whether the pre-orders have got their images in there yet or not. But it also means it also now supports adding, let me add a customer service package. It also adds retouching. So if I know Scott in Wisconsin has a lot of people not realizing they can order retouching. So now he can add it as a customer service product. So that's new. It wasn't in the versions that you've got up until now. So this is available on the website if you want to jump on to this version. When you do add that, you know now it also sort of adds that to the order, but creates a task. So you've got a paper trail of what's happening, of what you've just did. Now, the other thing that is also new, if you go into the jobs mode, you'll notice that for people who are emailing their customers through TS Portal, the email object in the menu has disappeared and it is replaced. Let me get to a better job that has more to see. So the email menu item has disappeared. It's now part of the subjects report. So that subjects list report that's always been there has been souped up a little bit. If you go into that one, there it is there. We can see that this job has got 83 subjects. They're the subjects listed there, sortable. Also filterable, if that's a word. You can filter this list for people, so you see subjects who have ordered or not, or you don't care, who are matched or not, or you don't care. You can see a particular folder, filter for a particular folder of subjects, reset it. You can also exclude folders. You can exclude, so you don't see the people who don't have a home folder. You see there must have been 4 of them because we're now only seeing 79, or more commonly, you may want to exclude the staff. So you've got those filters. And what some people will do out of here now is filter for people who have no order but were photographed, no order, has image, maybe exclude the staff. Exclude the staff. So in this particular job, there was 36 kids who were photographed but don't have an order. Now we can hit email and send them an email with their shoot key and the site to go to. But you can also manually exclude people by just clicking in the column. Total flexibility there, just click to exclude. So once you've got the result set the way you want it, you can email them, you can mark all their orders as closed, and you can export this list as you've always been able to do in this report, export that list of subjects to CSV. So that's new as well. That's on the website now if you want to grab it. Okay, so that was all for follow-up from last month. I can now shrink this and get on to today's topics. I'm going to start with some new stuff that's in iOS, which will be of benefit to everybody. Everyone will probably want to upgrade because of these new things that I'm going to show you first, and then a brand new method of handling pay later type orders, deferred payments as we're calling them. So let's get started on that. No questions so far, Mark?
Nothing
Good.
so far.
All right. I've just picked a key that we've used before. This key we used back in July in a different context, but let me go to this key to begin with, and we'll just go through the motions of ordering. The key itself is not important. So far, nothing new there. Let me get to here. I will get to there, still nothing new. Just wanted to pause here. For most of you, this button down the bottom says place order. And you've always been able to change that. That's what we call a translatable string. And whenever you hear us say something's translatable, it doesn't necessarily mean you can translate it to French or Spanish. Yes, it means those things, but it also means you can translate it from English to English. And I've translated that string to say proceed to payment rather than place order. Because we had feedback that people would hit that place order button and think, oh, great, I've placed my order, and they walk away and never keep going and paying. Strange but true, but it has happened. So in my site, and we can do it to your site, we can change that to say proceed to payment or anything else you like that makes sense. I changed mine to proceed to payment. When I click that button, I get here. Now we'll pause here for a moment. Some new stuff. Firstly, up the top, this is a snippet on the payments page. You remember we've added at code to snippets, and we did a whole lot of stuff with snippets back in July, whenever it was. We didn't at that point yet have snippets available on this page. You can now put snippets on this page. A very basic one there. So I'll get rid of that. Changed a bit more of this view. Again, for some reason, I've heard that end users, mums and dads, would get here and not realize that they had to pay. So we've said, again, payment is required, put a red box around it and point it to it. And if it could blink at you and jump out of the monitor and grab people by the lapel, it'd probably be better still, but it can't do that. So hopefully they realize that payment is required. We've taken away the sentence that said your order reference is, because again, that could confuse some mums and dads who thought that, oh, well, I've already got an order reference, I've already got a receipt, haha, I've tricked the system, I didn't have to pay, and walk away and again, not pay. And remember, these strings are translatable. So if you'd prefer that to say something else, like, of course, payment is required, sarcastic, sarcastic, you can do that, or order total is, you can change that to something else as well. You just let Mark or Matt or I know, and we can change those strings for you, or some of you are maintaining your own strings file. Give us the translations in that. This is also different. There used to be just a single button to pay. This is now, what you're seeing there in that box is a file, a HTML file, which again, you can format, or we can format for you to soup it up to make it look a bit sexier, put on the logo of the payment provider. In this case, it's Stripe. Whatever extra instructions or information you may want in this section. It's a HTML file that sits on your server, and use it as you like. You don't have to have what I'm got there as a default. And I'm working through doing one as a sort of a default install for everybody at the moment. I've done Stripe. Let's see, I've got a couple others to show you. Done one for authorized.net, the same sort of deal. Instructions slightly different. And also done one for SecurePay here in Oz. Having the logo on there makes people feel a bit nicer when they see that sort of thing. So that's new, and I think that's a very good addition. They still, of course, have to click the Pay Now button. When they do that, they get taken to the payment provider as per normal, and you can pay as per normal. This is Stripe in test mode, and I wanted to show you this page, the receipt page, the one that they get redirected back to after payment. You can see there's also a snippet on there that is also new. The fact that snippets can go right through to this end page, and you can put whatever information you want on that. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to show you that are new, the first set of things. I should be getting a confirmation email. There it is there. I've got, I'll double click on it to bring it out by itself. I've also been doing some work just to make the confirmation a bit more sexy. Now, some of you have already done this. Some of you, again, the email people get is, again, a standalone HTML file, which if you know some HTML, you can go crazy and format it to your heart's content. We install a default one, which is on the basic side, shall I say. I've souped it up a bit, and something like this will probably become the default for new installations, but we're not just going to randomly change older customers like yourselves who have already got an email file in there that you're used to. If you want to change, for example, to this one, let us know, and it becomes your email template. It can call in your logo. You can see we've color coded it to color formatted it to match our company color scheme. You know, for Timestone, you can have your logo and you can have your headers matching your color theme. An email link to mail support if they have got questions about their order, and it just looks a whole lot prettier. I think a lot of us, a lot of you guys, could improve the look of this email that goes out to people. So that's something to keep aware of. If you know HTML, we'll give you the file and you can do it. Or Mark, Matt, or I can help with that as well. Okay, so I've got my email, everything's happy there. And any questions yet, Mark? No? Good. I shall keep going. Yes?
No.
No?
When
Okay.
on that email,
Yeah.
it had a couple of extra lines at the bottom. Go down to the very bottom. It has subtotal and delivery, which everybody's used to, but what's processing fee and a transaction fee?
Yeah, that we did mention this last time. Optionally, in your site setup, when we set up your site, and not going to get on the server now to show you, but we can set up fees, and the fees have a code. But again, what you see there, the name can be anything you like. We've just added two fees. One's called a processing fee and one called a transaction fee, and we can set the figure in there. We set the figure as a site default. It's a site default. So unlike in TSIOS, unlike the tax, which is variable and you can set your own tax rate as a percentage there, these fees are set per site for your site. It can be a flat figure or it can be a percentage, but it is a global thing. It would apply to every job. It's not per job.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, it is, and you can have more than those. You can have one or the other, both, 3 or 5 of them if you want. Although that gets a bit silly.
But it's not per job, it's per site.
It's not per job, it is per site, indeed. Yep. Okay. So it's not like the tax and that you can set per job. It's not like the credit card surcharge, which you can set per job in TSIOS. They are site specific things.
I think this person's looking for a way to have a late fee line itemed outside of delivery, but that'd be a per job thing.
Right.
But anyway, that answers the question.
Yep. Okay. All right. Something else that's new, which we retrofitting to the 3.1 version of iOS, because most of what I'm showing you today is what we're calling a 3.2 thread for iOS, but we are retrofitting to 3.1, a new report. You've got the online orders report, which you can see there, which gives you one line per item in an order. So there's an order QHU7. There were 3 things in that order, and there were 3 things in the subsequent one. So it's one line per order. You're familiar with this report. You can filter it to see whether just the orders that paid or just the ones that haven't paid, or there's many filters you can put in there with this report, and a lot of people are using this report a lot of the time. So we won't go over that. But we're adding a new report, or we have added a new report, which, unlike the previous one, which is basically based on orders, we're adding a new report which is based on payments. I'll just bring it up. This report is very similar in a sense, except it's based on payment, and we've added the concept of the payment date. So you get to know when someone has paid, which may not necessarily be exactly the same time as when they ordered. They've ordered when they hit that place order button, which I had changed the name of it to proceed to payment, but that's when the order is actually created. And if they pay 5 minutes later, half an hour later, an hour later, the next day, they just leave their browser up running for 24 hours or more and then come back and pay. We never handled that. That order date was always the date, the original date from 2 days earlier, the original date when they hit place order, not the date they paid. That date's staying, the order date's staying, but we have now added a payment date. We will record the time that your payment provider, Stripe, Authorize.net, whatever, gets back and says, yep, the order has been paid. And that information is available in this report. This report is one line per payment, and then therefore by definition, one line per order. The other report that I showed you was one line per order item, one line per package in the order, so you could end up with multiple lines. This report is going to be great for reconciling bank statements and things like that, because it will match the date and time that you got the payment. It'll be great for that, and if Josh is in the audience, he's going to love it. Beg your pardon. It'll be also great to get a total, because again, the payment amount is there in column G. You could put a formula into Excel which sums that up for you, and it's one line. Because it's one line per order, that is the true amount. Whereas the previous report, there were several lines per order perhaps, so that amount wouldn't have been right. You would have had to take out all the duplicates. So this report is new, very new. I haven't documented yet about how to get to it, what URL you put into your browser to get to it. I'll update that as soon as we've done some more testing on this and just become a bit more familiar with it. I'll update the documentation. Then probably everybody can have this by, I don't know, the end of the week maybe, or early next week, seeing how we go. So that is new, and that is going to be added, retrofitted to the current version of iOS, not the new version, which is the main focus of today's meeting. Okay, any questions there?
Just a ton of praise from Josh.
Oh, well, you're welcome, Josh. And don't praise me, praise Peter. He dropped everything to do it for you.
Oh, he is praising Peter, not you.
Oh, good. Good. Okay. Now, let's continue this order that we've just placed. I'll just grab the key there so we copy it. Okay, let's go look at this order in the control panel. Webinar control panel. Okay. All right. Let me log in. All right, here I am in the control panel. I want to look up the order. Hang on. Where's the orders gone? The orders aren't there. Don't panic, guys. That's not a bug. That is by design. We have now split the control panel. We've taken orders out of the control panel, which is really more an administrator's panel. And handling of orders will go into a separate service panel, service module, whatever you want to call it. So the control panel itself is as you remember it, as you know it, without the orders. And this will be used by the main guy in your organization, the one who manages your website. The orders go into a separate customer service type module. And you get there, instead of slash control panel at the end, you get there with slash service, service dashboard, service module, service panel, whatever you want to call it. And this is where the orders will be. You'll also notice, well, there they are. You'll also notice I didn't have to log in again. Because I'd logged in here in the control panel, I didn't have to log in again into the service module. And the vice versa is also true. Had I come into here first and logged in, when I then launched the control panel, I wouldn't have to log in to the control panel. However, your customer service people, who you probably don't even want to tell them about the control panel now, who come in to only service, they will need to log in. For the moment, they will use the same credentials, whatever your username and password are at the moment, to get into control panel, to get into TSIOS and fulfill, it's the same. Our intention is to have separate logins for this, to have a separate login for service, less powerful login, different username and password. So your customer service people with this can't get into the control panel, and if they don't know what they're doing, they can't stuff up your conditions and your snippets, etc. So basically, we're separating the admin of the site to the customer service bit, which is looking up the orders. And some of you are probably thinking, oh, that's a pain because, you know, I do both. That's true, because we have customers who are small organizations, you know, one person, two people, and they will do everything. On the other hand, we've got customers with 100 people, and they will love the fact that they can separate those two tasks. The other advantage, which we'll get to, is for labs. I know there's some labs in the audience, is that you could, each photographer that you're servicing could have access to their own service panel. They put in their site and they'll have their username and password, and they can come in and look at their orders and do the stuff that I'm about to show you without seeing all your other photographers' orders. So that'll be very useful for labs, for people running you know, franchises and stuff like that, for each photographer to have their own login to see only their orders, and without fear that they're going to see anybody else's orders, without fear that they're going to get into the conditions and the snippets and the other things and ruin the site. So that is new. Let's have a look. You're familiar with this. This really hasn't changed, this section here. We will probably make this list a little bit longer, but that's neither here nor there. We can search for a particular order. That's the order we just placed, which was at the top of the list, I know. But the best way to find an order, if you've got it, is the order key. That reminds me, I just want to go back to the email. There was something I was going to point out here. Just very quickly, I don't know if I put it in here. You'll see it in other emails where I have said quite specifically, please quote your order reference in any correspondence with us. If your customers are ringing about an order and they've got the order key, that is always the best way to get into the system to find that order, obviously. If you need to look up by their name, you can do it, their email address, etc., etc. But if they've got their order key, well and good, that is much better, and you can get to that order a lot quicker. I will also risk life and limb by saying that'll help us as well. If you're ever asking about an order and about something not right in orders or whatever, and you're writing to me and Mark, please, please, please give us the order key if you've got it, because that means we can start looking up things wherever we are, even on my phone, without having to access the server and jump through hoops to find out what you're talking about. So if you're reporting to us a problem with an order, give us the order key. if you're reporting a problem with how packages look on the site or something to do with the site itself, give us a shoot key and give us your URL, so we don't have to look up what your site URL is. That's a nuisance. So little side note there. Okay, so we've gone into this order. This looks a little bit different. This is a little bit different. We've got the order date, the job, that's the job key there, 2F7, the job name, the processing status, we'll come to that. Customer delivery, the items in the order. There's a little edit thing next to customers, a little edit icon. But even before I click that, there's the customer who ordered, his email address. I could just click that email address and it will launch my browser with the order key in there, and I can compose an email to them and send it off, for whatever reason you want. You can do that directly from within the control panel or the service panel. We can click on that and now see information about the customer. And that is all editable. If the customer, you need to change the customer's name. You can do that. You can change their email address, phone number, etc., etc. You can, before we leave the customer, one thing that's a little bit, well, I'm not saying it's hidden, but given how much you're going to love it, it's up here in the top right-hand corner. There's actions. Drop that down. Send receipt email. This will now, by clicking that, that will resend the email, the receipt email to the customer. I know a lot of people have been wanting to do that for a long time. And that's working. I'll click that. The little toasty down the bottom, receipt email sent. And if we just give it a moment or two, that will come into my email client, and I'll show you. We can change the delivery information. If the delivery address was wrong, we can change that. Do whatever you like here, change anything you like. You can change the delivery option. Now I need to pause and tell you that what's happening here. The delivery options that you see in here are all of them that are available for that job. If you remember this job from back in July, we were talking about conditional delivery options. No customer would have ever seen all four because it depended whether they'd ordered regular or bulky, etc., etc. This has no concept of the conditions. This will just present all of them to you, and then you decide which one is appropriate if you want to change it. So it's showing you all the delivery options that are available for that job, and you can change it. And when you're done, you hit update. Okay. So we can change the customer information, send a new fresh email to them by just clicking their email address. We can resend their email. We can resend the email to yourself, the service, the provider email, as we call it, the advice email, the one that you get. You can send that to yourself by clicking send advice email. My email client dinged before, so let's go have a look. Here it is. See, that got resent to me. And it's still saying Dear Dino and not DEANO because I had not clicked update at the bottom when I did that first time. So yeah, I hadn't clicked update until after when I changed the delivery address. So we can view and change customer, view and change delivery information. There's information about the order itself. There was only one package in this order, but it was package P1 for Jessica Grimaldi. That's a key, the key icon. Her key was a Venetian. Normally the key is not going to be a word like that. That key was a subject key, that bit there. There's the subject in question. There's the folder she was in, and if needed, the folder key. That's the image she ordered. And if she'd ordered backgrounds and items and the other things, they'd be listed there. That particular job was quite simple, but all the things, so this list, this bit under order items can be quite long depending on how many things people have ordered in that order. You can see by clicking there more details about what was charged. Let me show you search for another key because it's got something else in there that I want to show you. E8, yep, that'll do. This particular order, okay, quotation marks, prompt text, in other words. You can change that here. This is the prompt text that she wanted her calendar. The name she wanted on her calendar was Reggie, not Regine. And you can view that and change it here. Hit update, okay? And there it is there. So that's changing the prompt text, changing the delivery options, changing things about the order. That's great. What if the order had already downloaded to you? Okay, so we can come into here and we can say mark to reprocess. Think of mark to reprocess as mark to re-download. We didn't want to change that terminology because people are used to it, but reprocess essentially will mean re-download it. It will download it to you again. To do that, it needs to wipe the order that was in the apps, the one that had downloaded to you, which may be sitting in Fulfill or sitting in Neopack. That has to be replaced by this one. It's not like it's going to add to it. So you need to be aware of that it deletes the order that was already downloaded to you, including the page in the queue, etc., and downloads it again as if it had come down the first time. For that to happen, the apps, you'll need to update your apps. So if you want to mark orders as reprocessing and have them re-download to you, you will need the 4.9 beta apps, okay, which we will need to get to you. You can do everything else that I've showed you up to now, you can do with the 4.8s that you've got, with the apps that you've got. But if you want to mark orders as to re-download to you, you're going to need the updated beta apps. So that's been kept a little bit separate deliberately because it's a new development set of thread, and also because given that a lot of you are still shooting in Australia, hopefully, actually a lot of you aren't because of half the country's locked down, but in the States, in the Northern Hemisphere, you're busy now, so you may not want to go to the beta apps. That's fine, stay with 4.8 apps. You can still use the new control panel and all the other functionality in iOS. However, you won't be able to mark the orders to reprocess. You'll be able to mark them to reprocess, but the apps won't know what to do with them, okay? Was that clear? Well, Mark, you probably got questions and comments with that.
Nope, nothing yet.
No, any
doing well.
Feedback? Feedback at all? Or? Okay, all right. I think therefore I am. Yeah, we can look at more orders, but essentially you get the idea. Here in this particular order, there were 3 items, but the same concept applies. You can change the customer information, you can change the delivery information, you can change the processing, because quite common, a common thing is, let me go to pre-orders only. That's probably an old one I can get to. Jonathan Livingston Seagull, here you go. A common thing to do sometimes is you want to change it from a pre-order, downloading into Neopack, to changing it into Fulfill. So this order went to Neopack by mistake, perhaps. You actually would have preferred that order to go to Fulfill. You can come in here, change it to Fulfill, change it to reprocess, update, and then that order will, next time you run Fulfill, will download into Fulfill, take it out of Neopack. So that's a common request to be able to do something like that. The other action up there, and this list of action will grow. At the moment, we've got 3. The third one I'll talk about in a moment. We'll add the ability to void an order, for example. That'll be an order action. And there's probably things in that list that we haven't thought about yet. But void is one that we intend to add, and we can add now. Payment, you can change things about that payment. Mark it as, if it hadn't been paid, obviously you can mark it as paid. You know that. You could do that now, but you can also change this to a deferred payment. You can mark it as not required. You can change the payment status as well. Far, far more power now in working with your orders in the what I'm going to say was about to say the control panel, but it's really the service module or service panel. That's its real name now. Okay. No questions, Mark?
Just some praise, no questions.
Good. Praise is good. All right, we can move on to the main thrust of the new stuff, and we're doing well for time for a change, which is good too. Okay, go there. In the TSIOS, even in the TSIOS you've got now, you may or may not have noticed this option down here, allow payment deferral. You may even have checked it by mistake and hit upload, and it wouldn't have done anything because your sites at the moment aren't listening for that particular option, so I don't know what to do about it. With 3.2, the site that I'm using, it does. What is payment deferral? Basically, as you're aware, the sites at the moment are pretty much you pay now or you don't pay at all. You hit the pay button, you go to Stripe and you pay, or you don't hit the pay button and you don't pay and the order never comes down to you. There's nothing in between. There's nothing that says, I want to pay, but I'm going to pay tomorrow. I want to pay, but give me 5 minutes because I'll transfer the money directly into your account. I want to pay, but is it okay if I send a check? So as a group, we're calling those type of payments deferred payments. So they're deferred. We're not saying the customer doesn't want to go ahead with the order anymore, that his credit card bounced or forgot to pay. These are specific, explicit orders that the customer says, yep, I want my order, but I'm paying later. And we will define what that paying later means. So by checking that option and hitting upload, okay, that particular job is now flagged for allowing deferred payments. Let's go have a look. Again, I chose a key that I can easily remember. Nothing special about the job. I might just add some things to the cart. Check out. And proceed to payment. Now this page looks a little bit different. We've still got pay now by credit card, but it's now an option, one amongst four as it happens for this particular site. And they may well still choose that option. And you remember that from half an hour ago. Now it's an option there. When you click pay by credit card, you'll see the pay now via Stripe blob, or the pay by authorized.net, pay by PayPal, secure pay. That option is still there and will probably always be there. You'll always want to offer the pay by credit card. But for this particular photographer, we've set up his site to he also wants to accept checks. So that option, and you can see pay by check. Instructions there, totally customizable by you, for you. What information is there obviously is relevant to you. So if the customer is going to send you a check, they would click the option mail a check, they read that information, and they'd click confirm order. Again, asking them to write the order reference number on the back of the check so you know who it belongs to. Pointing out that you're actually not going to start the order, you're not going to do anything with the order until you get that check. But the instructions are totally up to you. You write them as any way you like. They're translatable, and I can prove that to you by even in this page, just going to French, for example, and the whole page has been changed to French, including those special instructions in here. Thank you very much, and Matt can check that my French is up to scratch there. Pay by direct deposit. Go back to English. Okay, that may be an option that you want to offer. It's very popular in Australia. I don't believe it's as popular in America, but it's certainly popular here in Europe. to pay directly into someone's account. So here's the information. If you want to pay by account, there's our account details. Again, reminding them we're not going to start your order until we get that money into our account. You may also wouldn't mind if they paid in person. And then instructions there. Tell them where to come if they want to pay in person. Tell them that your opening hours, remind them you're not going to start the order until they bring in the money, preferably is cash, and they can choose that method. How many of these options I've gone the whole hog. I've put all three on my site. You may only want to have two, or credit card plus check plus bank deposit, and not pay in person. You may only want two options, pay now or pay check. Or you may want just to keep it generic. I've got another screen grab of this one. So here we've kept it generic. Make that a bit bigger. We've basically given them two options. Pay now by credit card. We know what that does. We've been doing that for 10 years. Or pay by another method. And now your HTML file, now your pop-up can list as many options as you like. You could have 10 options in there. It doesn't really matter. It's totally up to you. Because what you're seeing now is really under the hood is really what we do. We're really giving people two options: pay now by the credit card, authorized.net, or pay later. The previous one, we've made it easier for them by subdividing them and making them feel empowered because we're giving them choices. Or we could lump all those choices into one selection and always display all the options. You see the difference? And that one at the bottom is only half in jest. Obviously, no one's going to pay you in eggs and tomatoes, I hope. But it's only half in jest. I just want to point out to you that it's totally up to you what the options are. From our point of view, it's either a pay immediate order or it's a pay later order. However they're paying later is really not that important. It's not important from our point of view, from production point of view. So let's go ahead. Let's check, for example, much more common in the States. Paying by check, confirm order. Okay, they get to that page again. Thank you for the order. Now they've got an order reference and they'll get an email sent to them. And if we just give us a little bit of time for that email to reach me, I'll show you that that email is different. While we're waiting for that email, Mark, any questions so far?
I have a feeling this is going to be answered in the long run, but are the payment instructions by job or by site? I know that by job you can turn them on and off, but is it an all or nothing thing?
It's an all or nothing thing. It is site level. We will set up the site to accept deferred payments, and if you want to do have it, the options that get listed, that one's wrong example, but where I had pay by check as radio buttons, those three extra options as radio options, we set that up in the site.
So it's either deferred payment is either on or off, and what is displayed is site-wide.
Correct. What is displayed is site-wide.
Okay.
All right, so there's my email that came in. You see the email is now slightly different. The email says payment is now required, so we can now begin your order. It's actually the same email file. It's just the smarts in it know that this is a deferred payment email, so it displays different information. But it's the same. For the technical minded out there, it's the same HTML file, just with logic built in to know what to show you. And the payment method, you chose to pay by check. It knows that this order we selected that option, and so it repeats those instructions here. It repeats those instructions here again with the order key in bold, so that they hopefully will write it on the back of their check. But let me even, just to keep you more honest, I've killed that. I've got this email, and I had said to them, oh yeah, I'm going to pay by check, and I've got this as my confirmation email that reminds me I need to pay. I read this again and I say that they're not going to start my order. I now realize they're not going to start my order until I send the check, but I'm a bit more in a hurry. I've changed my mind. I want to pay by a different method. You can give them a link. If you see bottom left, have a look in this area, bottom left, as I hover over the link. It's a link that takes them back to our site, back to that payment page with their key. I click that. Okay, it takes them back there, and it's their page, it's their order, it's the same amount. You see the URL has their order key in it. They could click this at any time later and change their mind. They could choose check again, but now perhaps they do want to pay by credit card, and they can pay it by credit card. I think that's a really kooky and clever thing Peter did. So they have that option to click here, wherever, or you could send them that link, and they can change their mind from their original chosen method, and order information as per normal. Okay, in the rest of the email. So you're probably thinking, all right, that's good. What do we do when we get the payment? Okay, let's go back to our service panel, not the control panel, the service panel. You see there's another section in there called payments. Okay, looks a bit like the control panel, the orders module, orders section, but it's different. Here is where you can mark the orders as paid in a very quick and rapid way on bulk. For example, well, certainly you can filter for yesterday's, today's, etc. And you can filter just for, these type of deferred orders, the orders where people have deferred payment. I anticipate the workflow would be, for example, let's say you offer pay now with Stripe, or pay directly into our bank account. And each morning you will come to work, you'll run your bank statement to look at what's come in over the previous 24 hours perhaps, and then you'll have a list of, you'll see the transactions in that statement with the order key that they've used as the reference, and then you've got a list of order keys to mark off as being paid. Or maybe you've got a pile of checks with the same thing that have come in the last 24 hours, whatever time period you like, and on the back of each check they've written their order key. And then you can come in here as mark them as paid. A couple of ways of doing it, as always. You can just eyeball it, that's cool. You could just, this is the order we just placed. Select it and hit pay down the bottom. You can shift select or control select to select a range. Okay. Shift select, control select, shift click, control click. You know those are standard sort of things, and hit paid. That's cool. Initially that's how I thought a lot of people would do it, but Peter changed my mind on that. Thank you, Pete. I acknowledge you were right and I was wrong. I reckon it's far easier to actually at least begin entering the order key in there. So I could now, with this window, I've selected these, I could, I'm doing bank deposits, for example. So I'm selecting here bank deposit. So it marks the payment as having been received by bank deposit, just in case they change their mind. They may have said bank deposit, but wrote you a check, or vice versa. You can change it in here from what they had originally selected. And I could hit paid. The problem is I'm not seeing many here, and even if I make this list a lot longer, it's never going to fit. If I'm getting 100 a day, it's never going to fit in my screen where I can see them all anyway to eyeball them. I don't think that's a good idea. I'd have to be scrolling up and down. I'd have to be hitting the page buttons. not a good idea. Probably, as Peter was right, the easiest thing to do would be to come in, put your mouse focus in the search text and just start typing the order keys. You've got a list of order keys. They're either on the back of checks, or in my case, I'm holding up to my webcam, which isn't even on. I'm holding up a list of my bank statement. You can hear me rattling it, okay, which has got order keys in it. And I would think for someone who knows how to type, which I don't, it's far easier. I'm just going to look at this list and start typing in a key, and you don't have to type the whole thing in. There it is, enter. EBU, enter, YRK. 2 or 3 characters is going to be all you need for it to find the order. Because remember, it's an order key. It's not like a shoot key where you're going to have millions, and it's only the deferred orders. So the chance of it not being found after 2 characters, 3 at the most, 4 at the absolute most, is almost 0. It's close enough to 0. So I'm just marking all these as being paid. Now, I won't do them all. I've got 26 in my database. I did this as a test yesterday. I went through and did tap, tap, enter, tap, tap, enter, tap, tap, enter, tap, tap, enter. The 26 took me a few minutes. It took me really 5 minutes. So for someone who is far better at a keyboard than I am, I think even if you get 100 a day, 200, 500 a day, I don't think it's out of the question to come in here, go tap, 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 enter, tap, 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 enter. And in half an hour, a customer service person will have marked hundreds of orders as paid. I mentioned this because months ago when we were discussing this and I spoke to some customers about what we had planned, they thought, oh no, that'll never work for us because we get 300 orders a day. That's going to be too much work to mark them as paid. I'm not convinced of that problem. I'm not convinced it's going to take all your day, all your time to come in here and mark these orders as paid if it's something you want to do. You don't have to do this, remember, you just keep going exactly the way you are and just offer Stripe, authorized.money, etc. But if delayed payments is something you want to do and offer as well as your credit card payments, and you're worried that it's going to take you too long to then handle them, to mark them as paid, I'm not sure that's a valid concern. You can prove me wrong, but I'm not sure it's as big a concern as those people that I spoke to may have had at the time. And remember, not everyone is going to select this method. You may get 500 orders a day, but are all 500 going to send you a check? I suspect a fair whack of those people are still going to pay by credit card, and some of them will pay by check. So it's a little bit, let's try it and see. We've gone with this system because it is absolutely 100% flexible, and that makes it manual too, but flexible. It can be used by anybody, anywhere in the world. And that's not to say we won't look at systems like an Afterpay and those ZipPay, whatever those inherent payment providers are that let you pay later. But they're not available in all regions and all markets. And that's then becomes very problematic for us to maintain more payment providers than we already do, which is already a big pain. This system can be used by anybody, anywhere, anytime, and is totally flexible and customizable by you. Okay. So that's how I mark the orders as paid. Once I do mark the orders as paid, and it could be 5 minutes after, it could be 5 weeks after, whenever, they will get another email. You can see my email box is getting full now because they're all going to me. Now that they've paid, they get another order, another email. And this time the email doesn't say, if we compare it to that one, compare it this way, payment is now required. This time, it doesn't say that, it's removed that, and it says your payment has been received. And I ran out of time. I was going to have this email say, thank you, we've received your payment. I just didn't make that change. So the first email they get would be, thank you, we've received your order. We now need your money. The second email would be, thank you, we've received your money. We can start on your order. Make it whatever you want. So there's that as well. They'll get a different email, a second email, once you mark the order as paid. There is also a third email which I need to show you. We'll just pick one of these orders Let's say from my list here, I've got my statement, this one. In the actions, there was that one, that other option, send payment email. This is something you can do right now manually. Let's talk about that first. If I send a payment email, that particular email is to remind people. You may choose to send that email to say, hey, we haven't got your money yet. Remember, we can't actually process your order until you do pay. Here's what you said you would do. You said you were going to send us a check, but if you want to pay by another method, here are the other methods. Let's see when that one comes in. Okay, you can see that that email is now, I haven't spent as much time formatting it, but still it's got the logo, it's got some information. It doesn't say tax invoice now, it's not a receipt. This is not a receipt, this is just a friendly reminder email. And I still need to work on it. It will say things like initially you had chosen to, and it would tell them what method. On the other hand, if you'd like to pay by another method, please click here. So that can be sent manually by you at any point. What we intend doing, it's not there yet, but we've already discussed it, pretty much designed it. What we intend doing is have that as an automatic process. You will specify to have an email, reminder email sent. You will say, send one 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, whatever, after the order was placed to remind them to send it. We will keep track of that to know that 7 days was the first email that's sent. After 14 days, it was a second email, which may look different. The third email may say, if you don't pay, the order is going to be voided, in a week. It'll have a cutoff date. So that's something that's coming, the ability to automate the sending of reminder emails to remind them to pay with a void or expiry date, an abandon date, if you want to call it, where if they don't pay by that date, the order will get automatically voided. And you'll be able to set that, or we'll set it up for you as to how frequently you want to send those orders, how many of emails, how many you want to send, and at what frequency you want to send them. And that obviously is a nice thing to do as well. But right now, you can do it manually with this send payment email, which is different to the other two emails. Okay. Questions, Mark?
Somebody is talking about the control panel and messages and automatically sending them that way. Is there going to be a condition that goes through and checks if orders are deferred and send emails that way, or it's going to be handled all through the service module? That makes sense.
We will give you the ability to specify at what time period, what frequency those reminder emails can go.
Right, but there's not going to be a condition that looks for all unpaid orders or deferred orders.
And do what?
And then send a message, or?
Well, that's what we're doing. We don't have messages yet, as you know. We can't send SMSs and things like that. So that's a moot point.
But I guess the question is, will there be a condition that checks for deferred? And I think the answer is yes.
See, a condition is you put in a key and the site does things according to that condition.
Yes. I think we've answered the question well enough. Yes.
Yeah. Condition will affect what the customer sees on the site, what packages, etc. Right. Maybe we can end up having these things being conditional. For example,
I'm getting from a very, very good source that there will be a condition of deferred.
Yes. Okay.
So enough said.
All right. Okay.
No more questions.
No more questions. All right. I think I've pretty much covered it. I remember I did say that this today wouldn't be as long as some others. We've gone through how to mark orders as paid, the emails, reminder emails. Peter, if you're listening, is there anything I've left off that we need to talk about?
Nope.
No?
He says no.
There's, as I've just said, there's more that we plan to do. There's more that we've already planned to do. There's more that we'll take on board as people use this. We could go crazy. We could delay putting this out there and do extra stuff. There's that delay, which is not necessarily a good thing, because believe me, there are people who want to use this yesterday. But also, we may end up doing things that aren't really important, that people don't care about. We do work for nothing. But also, it would be useful for people to start using this and give us feedback. Say, it would be good if it did this, it'd be good if it did that. And then we can build that into the future development. But there's things we've already planned on doing. There's things that we will do based on the feedback of users. So it is important to get this out now for the timing point of view. And while we step back, do the things we've discussed that we're going to do, take on board any suggestions that are valid and doable from the people who will start to use this immediately. The takeaway from it is that these things are global, right? They're not per job, but you can turn it on or off per job completely. We will end up with conditions perhaps that turn off one option or the other, right? That you don't have to show all the options like this as radio buttons, as sexy as they look, that you can put everything in one like that. It's totally flexible, absolutely 100% flexible how you want to structure this, what information you want to display to them, what method that pay later is. Remember, the 2 dozen eggs is only half ingest. The pay later method can be anything you like, and then you mark that order as paid. Okay. All right. Are we done already? Wow, we've done all right. We finally got to keep it to an hour, Mark.
Yes. Yes. There are some people that are very interested and want to know when it's going to become available.
Well, it's pretty much available. I mean, I have been, Peter and I have been at this on and off quite a while. Other things get in the way. But then we've been pretty much full-time on it for the last several days. I've been pretty much full-time on it for the last couple of weeks. I've flushed out some problems. Peter's got them fixed. I'm quite happy the way it is now. I'd be happy to give this to people to try or to use. Remember the apps bit. If you want to do that reprocessing orders, you're going to need apps. They will be 4.9 apps. They will be beta versions, because we'll have a whole lot of other stuff to go into 4.9 for next year, for example. So if you're not comfortable using betas, don't get the apps. Yeah.
So how does one go about getting their site updated? Do they just contact you? They contact me and I pass it on?
Normal way. They contact you and you contact me. normal way. Yeah.
Okay. And a person is wondering if you're going to send a video link out because they missed half the webinar.
Yeah, if you've registered for, now this goes for any of the webinars, past, present, or future. Even if you can't make it, register, because you'll get that link to the video. The people who register should get it soon, like within the first few hours. It needs to be rendered, and then you get a link. The people who registered but didn't show up, shame on you, but you will also get a link, but I think that's like 24 hours later. It's just done automatically. Then I will download it and edit it a little bit, take out that whole section at the beginning where we sort of started, but I was still having coffee, so just to make it shorter, and it'll end up on YouTube. So the ones we did earlier in the year are already on YouTube now, in case you need to look at them that way, which is an easier way to look at them than through the GoToWebinar app. Yeah, but you'll get the video.
Okay. is do they need 4.9 for the deferred payment period, or is it just if you want to reprocess those orders?
To be honest, I've lost a little bit of track. I remember with 3.1, let's talk about 3.1 iOS, the one that had had conditional delivery options, yeah, and the one that had granular turning off of customization, and the one that had @codes in snippets. So that version of iOS, remember with that, if you go back now to the earlier webinars, I said you'll need a TS admin to update your local database so it can hold the condition against your delivery option, and it will need a TS iOS to send that information, to send the delivery option information. That's the one I've got now. So nominally, this TS iOS that I'm showing you now is a 4.9, okay? I don't remember if this allow payment deferral is in the 4.8, but that's the least your worries. TS iOS is innocuous, so whether this is a 4.8 or 4.9 doesn't matter. But yes, if your TS iOS does not have this option, allow payment deferral, you'll need it.
But the apps themselves are not going to be needed unless you want to actually reprocess those orders. Correct.
Okay. Now, some people already have like a 4.9 branch of Neopack, because remember in the first webinar from July, I said we've added something to populate field. You could populate a field per select only for the selection. And I said that's new. So if you want to use this, you're going to need the 4.9 Neopack. So a lot of you maybe already have it. But putting that aside, if you want to reprocess orders and have them download to you with the changes, yes, you'll need 4.9 apps, notably Neopack that downloads orders, and Fulfill, which downloads orders.
Okay, and we need the information from each customer that wants to use the deferred payment of what deferred payment they want. And
yeah, that'll take a bit of time. If you said to me now, I want to go to this, I can't just. Yeah, we're going to need to go back and forth about what options you want to offer. We need to, Mark will need to have a look at their app settings file and put the information in there.
Because it is a settings that we do, and it's a per site thing.
Correct. So that, this pop-up for your payment provider and all these options, you may not want what we've got as default. Clearly, you're not going to want to mail the checks to us. So there's a bit of customization that we need to do as a one-off for you. So there's a bit of a delay in there. It's not as simple as it was, say, to go from 3.0 to 3.1, where it took me a few minutes. This, I can update it, but for you to get the benefit of it, we've got to go back and forth with some of this customization on your behalf.
Because it is a settings, it is a setup per site.
Yep.
One person has a really good question. Okay, you have a deferred payment, and in that time the job went from pre-order to fulfill. Will the order still be pending as a pre-order, or will it switch?
Yes. I'm just trying to picture the orders table, but I think the download method, for example, is an order property. And the new orders look at the job property, look at what you set for the job, but any historical orders are still set that way. Thank you, Mark, thank you for reminding me of something that I was going to say. At the moment, I hope everyone knows at the moment, when you take down a job, if you remove a job from here, if there are any orders that haven't downloaded to you yet, right, you won't be able to take down a job. You'll get an error message saying as such, you won't take down the job. If all the orders have downloaded to you and you remove the job, the orders are removed from iOS as well. Everything comes down into your local database. You don't need them up there anymore as well. So we're handling the deferred orders as well. If there are deferred orders up there and you try to take down the job and you haven't marked those deferred orders as paid for them to come and download to you, it won't let you take down the job. do not fear that you'll lose them if you inadvertently take down the job. We thought about that and we have guarded against it. So the orders will not, you won't be able to take down the job if there are deferred orders pending. Now, the thing is, as we've said, there will be some people who say they'll pay later and never pay. And therefore that job, you'll never be able to take it down unless you go in and manually mark it as paid. But remember, two things: you'll be able to void an order manually, but we're going to have that automatic monitoring to say after 30 days or on a given date, any orders that aren't paid will get voided. We're going to have that as an automatic setting you could set up. Because it's not just that we want to void orders, for example, 30 days after you've placed them if they haven't paid. We may want to force them to pay by a certain date. Think about pre-orders, huge in Australia. You will want all the pre-orders up until photography day. And you need to have those orders downloaded and paid by that day because you're only going to photograph those kids if they've ordered, for example. So your reminder emails to them, they may have pre-ordered 30 days before photography day. You may be wanting to send reminders that say, your reminder doesn't say you've got 30 days to pay. Your reminder might say, make sure you paid by such and such a date. If not, we aren't going to photograph your kid, for example.
So after that date that you have set, the orders will be voided or just turned into unpaid or not deferred.
Correct. Yeah. So it won't necessarily be a date time that you've got 2 weeks to pay. You could optionally say you need to pay by this date. So if someone orders 2 days before that date, the email isn't going to say you've got 7 days to pay. No. The email is going to say you've got to pay by Wednesday. Right. So
but if they don't and it exceeds that time period, the order is probably just going to become an unprocessed.
Correct.
Order, and so people could still, if they get a check late,
we'll handle internally so that we can then report on it. That sort of thing.
Yeah. Somebody's wanting to know the ETA on the auto emails.
I don't have one.
Okay.
Sorry.
And Matt wants to ask a question, so I'm going to unmute him.
Yes.
And let him ask his question. Or I think he has to unmute himself. Matt, you're on? I don't think I can unmute him.
Yeah, he's self-muted. Matt, if you're listening, you've muted your microphone.
Oh, yes, I can. Okay. Yes. First of all, I want to say that our French customers are really excited by all these new functionalities. Really good. Yes, about the future auto reminder payment email that you was talking about. What happens if a customer starts one order which will not be paid because, I don't know, he will forget, and start another one, a new one, which is going to be paid? Is the email going to be sent anyway because the first order is not paid?
Correct.
Or not?
In that example, the way you have explained it, we have no way of knowing that first order, he is not going to go ahead with it. We can't guess what's in his head, so we won't know. So he will get a reminder email for that first order.
Okay.
Yep. You've muted yourself again. He didn't like
But
the
I'm
answer.
finished. I'm finished. There is no more question.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if we could have any automatic way of knowing what his intentions are, what the customer's intentions are. I don't know if Peter wants to jump in and comment on that.
Well, he says yes, they are definitely two separate orders, and the one's going to be treated one way, and the other's going to be treated as a deferred payment.
Yeah.
So that one would get an email, one wouldn't.
Yep.
So let's see.
I'm just looking at some of the people in the audience. There's a couple of them, and I'm not going to dob you in, so to speak, who were the ones that expressed concern that this is not for us because we're too busy. That we'd like to do it, but this is going to take too much time to mark these orders as paid, to handle these orders. I don't know if what I've said and done and showed placates that fear a bit. So maybe that's something for discussion. But yeah, keep going, Mark. Sorry.
Well, no. One person says that they think that sometimes the payments fail, and they do because we don't hear back from the payment gateway. But these deferred payments are not going to fail because they're all internal.
Yeah.
Correct?
They're inherently deferred. Yes. There's no way of. There's no call being made to a payment provider which can fail.
So the moment they say mail a check,
they will always get that email. They'll always, unless it's spam filtered at their end, they're always going to get that confirmation email. Because we're not leaving TimeStone, we're not leaving to go to Authorize or Stripe or PayPal.
Right. So if they say mail a check and hit confirm order, that it's going to be updated. We're not relying on an outside gateway.
Correct.
And the ones that fail are still on a payment gateway, and they're still going to fail, and that's totally different.
Yeah, my understanding is failures are far rarer now. I mean, I stand corrected, but they're far rarer than they used to be. Yeah, especially with Stripe. Stripe seems to have been a godsend. It seems to be a very reliable one. Anyway.
Yeah. So okay. If people don't finish the order, it's going to be just like it always has been.
Yeah. Well, if people don't finish it, as in don't choose any option, is that what you mean?
Right.
If they get to this page and don't click anything and disappear, they can always come back to this page, right? And sometimes this page just stays open. If people are ordering on their phone, like I know my phone, my browser, it's probably got about 60 tabs still open, and this is what Josh was finding. People were coming back 2 weeks later and coming to this page and hitting pay. So here's a question. Come back to this page. Yeah.
If they come back, if they get to this page and they don't do anything and they close their browser and they go away, are they going to get the reminder emails? Or is it just if they pick a deferred?
No, you only get a reminder. You've got to confirm the order. You got to hit that confirm.
I'm getting from a very, very good source that yes, they will get that email.
What if you come to this page and don't choose anything?
That's what I'm hearing. Yes. So once you make it to this page, if you don't do anything, you're going to get a reminder email.
Oh well, we don't do that now though. Correct me if I'm wrong, Peter. That's not happening now.
No. It's not happening now.
Oh, okay.
But when the reminder emails start, people who abandon orders will start getting reminder emails, which could very well be extra money.
Yeah, so that's more like an abandoned cart.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're going to start getting an email saying, "Hey, you still have this order pending. Do you want to pay for it?" Or whatever.
Yeah. Just to clarify, the order is created when you click this button, which for most people says place order. I've changed mine to say proceed to payment, but this is when the order gets created. Behind the scenes now, the order is created as an order key and everything. And we used to show the order key. People didn't like that. We removed it. So I think what Peter is saying, with the automatic reminders, we can set that up. So even if they do nothing in here, they'll get a reminder saying, "Hey, do you still want to go ahead with your order? Here are your 4 options." You could present the whole set of options all over again.
See, and I think that that's wonderful because even if you're not using deferred payment, you're still going to get people who will come back and pay by credit card. Yeah, and I have on very good word that it's going to happen soon.
Okay, good. Oh, good. I don't think we need to be so coy about the fact that it's Peter in the chat.
Well, he could unmute himself if he wants to. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he's got his mic. So that's cool. Oh, that's good. That'd be great. That's handling abandoned carts, which I know there's other companies that deal with that.
That's that's going to be really huge.
Yeah.
Just that, even if you don't use deferred payments.
Yeah. Yeah. So remember, people may want to come to this version and still just offer their credit card thing and not use deferred payments at all. They still may want to do that because of the functionality that's in the control panel, the orders, the fact that they can do all this shit in here. So people may want to come to this version just for this and to be able to resend emails. You don't have to use the deferred payment. But going forward, any new development we do in iOS will be this version. So you're going to have the split control panel, service panel. You're going to have deferred payments available even if you don't use them. So we aren't going back to old versions to add stuff. Everything will be in this version from now on.